In December 2025, a colonel in the French army deposed President Emmanuel Macron in a bloody coup d'etat. Or at least that's what a viral AI-generated video wanted you to believe. It quickly garnered 13 million views and even caused a diplomatic stir. But Facebook refused to take it down for 3 days, claiming it did not violate their rules. Lifelike disinformation is increasingly common online, while social media giants drag their feet in combating it and dismantle their content moderation systems. So, are you savvy enough to tell AI fakes from the real thing? And how do we improve AI literacy in our societies and social media platforms? I'm Tomasz Koper, and this is Connected on TaiwanPlus. To verify whether I'm a real presenter or an AI hallucination, we welcome Wei-Ping Li, a research director at FactLink, a Taiwan-based organization which aims to enhance digital literacy, speaking to us from Washington, D.C. And also from Washington, D.C., we have James O'Brien, professor of computer science at the University of California, Berkeley. Wei-Ping, I want to start with you here. We've seen a rise in AI-generated dis and misinformation, but have we seen a corresponding rise in AI literacy in our societies?
I think people are more aware of the existence of AI and the problem that AI has brought, but that doesn't mean that people's skill of spotting fake or AI-generated content has also been better. So we can see that people are really worried about AI content, but they are also not so good at identifying AI content. And sometimes they even share AI content or generated video images without knowing that they are sharing fake content.
Well, James, how meaningful are pre-existing biases in determining whether a group will be susceptible to this kind of AI-generated mis and disinformation?
It's actually kind of interesting because we did a study a little while ago where we asked users about their attitudes towards fake imagery, and we were really trying to get at whether or not they could, what made them suspicious and which types of people were more likely to question imagery. And what we found out was that the number one criteria, the thing that had the highest correlation of all the things that we tested, was whether or not the image is aligned with their own perspective. So if they see a politician that they like and the picture's negative, then they would be inclined to disbelieve the picture. If they don't like the politician and the picture's negative, they'd be inclined to believe it. The second thing was the person's savviness about the internet and digital media and tools like Photoshop. But the first thing, rather sadly, was whether or not they agreed with the image.
Well, Wei-Ping, we are seeing many different kinds of AI-generated content, videos being the most prominent, but we also have audio, and we've had text for a long time now. Which kinds of AI content do you think are the most likely to fool an average internet user?
So from our observation, from our work as identifying this information manipulation, we found that there are two kinds of content that are very easily fool audiences. One kind of the content is those which resemble real people or real things. It's really hard for average person just to detect what the problem is at the first glance. And the second one is those kind of content that can trigger audience's emotion instantly. So they just share that instantly without really taking some time to think if this image is problematic.
Well, speaking of convincing people to believe or disbelieve a piece of content, let's take a look at what happens when we clash quality with quantity. Because crafting AI fakes is easier than ever, but a truly convincing one still requires a level of finesse we might not always see at state-backed troll farms. Yet quality takes a back seat when you can flood the target demographic with sheer quantity. Ethan Tu, the founder of Taiwan AI Labs, explains how and why malicious actors deploy fake videos in huge numbers.
它会有大量的，可能是来自于同一个剧本的脚本，那他去做大量的对一件事情的论述，那这个论述看起来好像是多方不同的观点的论述，但实际上我们可以侦查出来，就是说它是从同一个来源做大量的影片的生成，那之后去影响，让大家觉得说哦。好像我在各个地方都看到这个观点，所以这个是一个主流观点。所以它现在 AI 生成的技术，它除了被应用在造假，因为造假现在是很容易有这个 fact checking， 所以相较来讲，造假的影响力是较弱的。但是它以现在来讲的话，它是比较常在用来的，其实它在长久稳定的是在表达一个论述，让你对一个事情产生厌恶。那你对一个候选人或者是对一个民族产生厌恶。
Well, James, is this quantity over quality an effective strategy for swaying public opinion?
So I think the issue is really interesting because when you think of AI, a lot of people focus on the fact, oh, I can create a fake image, I can create a fake video. But the other aspect of AI is that it lowers the time and difficulty that it takes to create this kind of content. And you just heard about the idea of flooding, right? So in the past, we could make fake videos, but it took a lot of effort, might take some skill, and one person could only do so much. Even when you were talking about text, by the way, which is another type of fake content, a post can be written by AI now, and before one person might be able to write 10 posts in some period of time. But now using AI, they can set up an army of bots that create text posts, video posts, image posts, massive quantities of them relatively easily. So it's, I think that was a very good point. It's not just a question of creating fake media that's highly believable. It's also a question of being able to create so much of it. And I do disagree with one point, which is said, well, it's not so hard to expose the fake media. But the truth is, I think it's actually quite difficult. And if you kind of think about it, I'm an expert and I've done analysis for different news outlets of fake media, but it might take me 3 or 4 hours to verify that something is fake. If it only took them 5 minutes to create it, how can I can't keep up with that, right? And so this is the other aspect of it, right? The quantity, it's definitely an issue.
I also want to resonate with Professor O'Brien's points that it's really difficult and it takes a lot of time to debunk false information, because you not only have to debunk, you have to present evidence that can persuade people to believe you, to trust you. So it definitely takes a lot of time and takes a lot of work to point out what's wrong with the images, text, or any false information. And speaking of that, I think the social media platforms haven't done their best to deal with the problem. And I even think that they have developed the tools, this kind of AI tools to make things worse. For example, what we have seen for the past days or the past weeks of what's happening on Grok, right? They present that kind of AI tools that's very easy to help people to create improper AI images, exploiting the images that have been floating on the platforms, especially females' images or some children's images. So I definitely think that social media platforms can do better.
Before we get there, James, fully AI-generated content is one side of the problem, but there is also content where alterations are more slight, where a few words might be changed, or a person's facial expression to kind of color the message that goes across to users. How difficult are these fakes to detect compared to fully AI-generated content from a technical standpoint? Is there a substantial difference, or both for humans and for automated systems?
So I think so there are automated systems. They don't work perfectly, which is unfortunate, because if it doesn't work perfectly, that means you can't trust it necessarily, right? If something is 80% or 90% accurate, it still means sometimes it's going to get it wrong. And the truth is that there's no single reliable way to tell if something's fake or not. But you can really think of it as sort of a contest between the person who made the fake content and the person or machine or whatever that's trying to expose the fake content. And so if I sort of do a low effort fake, I just go ahead and tell a nano banana just make something and it creates the video. Well, that's going to be easy to spot, right? If there'll be information in the meta information that says it, where it came from. There are tools that can spot the signature of a particular generator, but that's a low effort fake. And the high effort fakes have multiple steps, right? You might start with a real image, you might start with a fake image. You then look for the problems in the image, you do some editing, you might send it through some filters that make it less likely to be detected as AI content. And as you pointed out, if you are selective in what you change, the what's there to notice is now becoming smaller and smaller, right? That takes more effort, but the result is something that's very, very difficult.
Well, on that note, before we finish off this segment, I do want to take a look in the future, because if we continue on this trajectory, on our current trajectory, the dystopian in me fears that we will end up with a future where no one believes anything, or maybe everyone believes everything, either of those two extremes. Wei-Ping, what does future look like to you?
I want to be optimistic, but I'm still somehow worried. I think that the problem that we're facing right now is the collapse of trust. We no longer know what to trust, and we often let our emotion lead our thinking, and which is very dangerous, because if we no longer trust the information, we would be living like in different realities. And if we don't have common understanding of the realities, it would be very difficult for us to write the best optimal decisions that is good for everyone. We would be in the hell that everyone is having different opinions about what is right or what is wrong, or what is true or what is fake. So I think the trust is the biggest issue that we're facing right now.
James, from your perspective as a computer scientist, are you an optimist or a pessimist about the future?
I think I try to be an optimist about the future, but let's be clear. When it comes to fake media, at some point you get to this space where the image generator is not making any mistakes, right? Technology gets better and better and better. Eventually, you get to a point where, to the limits of the resolution, to the limits of the quantization of the pixels, there's nothing to find. There's nothing that's wrong with the image, and at that point, there's nothing to detect. And I think if you, I, everyone listening to this, if people want to not be fooled by fake media, maybe the best thing that they can do is work on we can work on our own attitudes about when we see something that we really like. Instead of just saying, okay, I agree with that, I love it. Instead, think about, maybe this is too good to be true. Maybe it's not correct.